Hello guys, welcome to Code Vida. So this is fifth video of our Node.js tutorial series. In previous videos, we have set up we have learned to do node setup, connected data MongoDB with our Node.js server. We also created our very first API. So in today's tutorial, we will be creating first CRUD operation in our Node.js project library management system. So let's head back to the screen. So I have come up with a plan of how our library management system will be, or like how our backend developer thinks about when they are creating a new project. So suppose we are creating a library management system. So first of all, we are supposed to decide like what different kind of users for a particular application could be. So suppose here in library there are majorly two types of users. First one is the students, those who are coming to borrow a book, or those who are like part of library, they just go to read or like study something. Then library staff is there, which are like to like lend books to the users or student. Then they have like management or bookshelf keeping and all these things, which is all handled by staff members. Yes, different staff members could have different roles. One is like borrower or something, one is for like shelf or management, which looks after the book management, and third one is like book which keeps about fine and all these things. So but yes, they are comes under staff, but they could have different roles. Then we decide like what different roles or what different modules our application could have. So there are certain basic or like common role modules which every applications have. Then as per applications requirement, other modules keep changing. So common modules are like authentication. In authentication we make like login, sign up flow. Then we have roles and permission, which is again common in both the application. We have certain like notifications, which usually you see comes in every application. So notification is again a common module, which I have not mentioned it here, so I am also mentioning. So suppose in this library system we will be keeping a different modules as student management, staff management, and then inventory is like different material in library, like chairs are there, desks are there, then we have fans, Wi-Fi routers are there, or n number of material which a library could be. If we talk about in terms of a school, then in inventory it could have like dresses, notebooks, books, diaries, colors, and then chairs and all these things. So and borrow management, like suppose a student is borrowing a book from library, then like keeping record of this, if they are returning or if it is delayed, all things will be mentioned. Then in book management we will be like creating or adding new books to the library, then adding new books, then we are listing those books. If we are updating their title, if we are updating their editions, we will be deleting if there's some book is not available, or suppose some book is stolen or something, then we might deactivate that particular book for a certain time. So like we have already decided the entire plan, like how we will be making this application, this entire backend. So before this we will, first thing we should make, like every library is there. First of all, when you will visit any website, suppose you are going to Amazon, you are going to Flipkart, what you see, we see all the products over there, list of all the products, and this list is like freely, we don't need to log in, we don't need to sign up just to see the products. Similarly, if we are going to like book a medical test to any diagnostic website, then list of the test is always like, it doesn't require any kind of authentication or authorization. So these are like unprotected APIs which we create. So first we will be learning like, and this is the basic one thing, first user checks in like if all the things which he is looking for are already there in the library. So first one, for a library, first and most important things are books. If libraries doesn't have proper books, or like books which user usually looks for, then why user will come there. So first of all, we will be making book CRUD. CRUD is like we often hear the terms CRUD in libraries, oh sorry, in terms of backend development or in the terms of APIs. So CRUD, I'm writing is the full form of CRUD is create, render, create, then we have render, then or we can simply render or slash read, render slash read, then we have update, and we have delete. So this is what we mean by CRUD operation. So we said we need one API to creating a record. Suppose we want to add a book to our library, then we will be using CRUD, like create API. Then now we want to show the list of all the books, or like find a particular book out of that all the books we are having. So we will be using a read API or a render API. Then if we already have a book and we want to update its status to unavailable, or we want to just change the edition, or so we use update API. And suppose if we want to permanently delete or remove this particular book from our system, so we will be creating a delete API. So now let's get back to our VS Code and let's start making our very first module. So in the module, in the last video I have told you what actually module is. Module is like it decides like what different information about a particular entity will be stored. So suppose here we are making like books, so I will be make books.js. So now you must be wondering, all of you, in every other folders in the previous video we have made index file, but in models you have simply written books.js. Actually controllers, suppose we are into routes, so there is one main file in the routes, and then again this main file will route, like in the as we have seen in previous app.use, this particular first checks to API v1, then it reaches to this particular route. But it might also happen, it could have our application when it grows, then it have certain past, like we have simply mentioned version 1, we could have version 2, version 3, version 4, so but main file is API is the main file, then it goes to different versions. So that is why in the routes we make a central file which redirects to on the basis of different routes. Similarly in controllers also we could have like a one main file where we are like bringing list of all functions in 4 different files, and then we are passing this particular common file to the routes. It makes our code more readable, it makes handling of the code or with different controllers and routes easy. But in the case of model, it will be like single, like every model will be unique, there will be nothing like they will be separate from each other, there will be nothing common in each model. So let's begin with model. So I created books.js. So now what I have to do const, in order to make the modal we have to import mongoose. So again we will be use, and now in order to write the schema we have already written it. So now you can see first we imported the module with the help of which we will be creating our schema. We call it schema in the modules, we call it schema, and schema decides like what different entries will be there in the book. So since it this module is related to books, so every book has some title, books have authors, a certain description about book, then book could have a price, then it has we will add certain more fields. We will add status. Okay, so book could have multiple status if it is in. When defining MongoDB schema, we can pass different parameters here. So here I am writing one more parameter, enum. In enum I have provided two values, one is available, another is unavailable. So when we provide enum, so when user passes a particular data, so user can only pass these two particular value, either of these two particular values. If they will pass any other value apart from this, it will fail. So this is the role of enum. Then we have also mentioned type. Type is like what kind of information, like information which this particular key title will be storing, what it will be their type. So its type is string, so it could store anything, any name. Author name, again name is string, so we have made it. Required true. When we make required true, then while making API, it is sure that we need to pass this particular information. Without this, our book cannot be created. So when we want certain fields to be like must in our record, so we mention them as required true. So we need this description, we can make it optional. So by default, if I don't pass required, then again it's the same, that required is false. Price, we can mention. Cover, it's like optional, we will pass is as false. Either you can required false or just omit the required keyword, that both things are same. Categories, again we don't need it. Then we have price, we have cover, we have author. Then books have edition. Edition is a type of a string, or every book doesn't have a addition, so we will also keep it optional. And in addition we will write addition are mostly years like 2015, 2016, so we will keep it as number. Okay, you can use other values as well. So bookers having title, they have authors, they have edition, description, price, cover, they have status if they are available or not available. Then we have categories, like here in enum we have passed like values as available or unavailable as in a string, but in actual practice we pass it as 0, 1. 0 means, and we keep it as, when we have certain options, fixed options, 4 to 5 parameters are there, we generally try to make it using numbers. We avoid strings, so I will simply write 0 is available, it has mentioned wrong, 1 is available and 0 is unavailable. We can also define the default value of a particular key. Here we will make default value as 1, because when we are writing a book, then definitely it will be available in our system, so default value will be 1. So our schema is ready. It is not a very hardcore that we our schema should be correct in very first go. It might happen that when our project grows, we need certain more fields in our schema, or sometimes we need to remove certain fields, so that's not a thing. So basic schema is already ready. So our model is done. First we create, like in those APIs which models are required, so first of all we define the model. Now second thing we define is a controller. So in controller we created one index file, so we want so simply I will delete it, and in controller I will write one file name with the name. For simplicity we will make it books.js. So first operation, like until and unless we have a book, we cannot list it, we cannot delete it, we cannot update it. So very first API is list API, create API. So I'm just creating very first API. So I will give it a name, create. You can give it any name. Then I will export the function, but yes, simply we will not do this. What we will do, const payload or data, you can say it. Generally in terms of backend development or development, we call it whatever request we pass or body, we call it as a payload. Now in the body, we will be receiving all the data which is being passed from the user. Request, I already told you, request is the object in which information coming from the client end side, front end side, user side, it comes in request object. It could have multiple parameters like request dot endpoint, which endpoint user is hitting. It has like body, what data user is sending. User can pass data in multiple ways. They can pass in body, they can pass in query, they can pass in params. Don't worry about this. We will, once we will move further, everything will be clear, like what are queries, what are like body, and all these things, what are headers. So first, just for basic understanding, we receive all the data in our payload. Now we have to add this data to our database. So we need, with the help, what is the role of schema or modal? Modal decides like what data will be stored in our DB. So with the help of modal only, we write the data. So what we will do, const response is equals to await, and then I have imported the model which I created in the file. Now we have to write async. What is this async and await? I hope you are familiar with JavaScript. So in order to handle like async nature of JavaScript, we use async await. Async nature means like suppose every programming language runs from top to bottom, but in between they find a certain operation which is like time taking. So our system generally, our programming language generally won't stop for that particular step. It will go to the next step. And suppose our next step depends upon output of the previous step, which is like time taking step, and if its value is not there, then in the next step it will go as undefined, so it might give us error. So with the help of async await keyword, we ask our programming language to hold it for a second, wait for the result, and when result has arrived, then only proceed further. So this is, in simple terms, we are using async await. So here what we are doing, we receive the all data from request in the body parameter, then we just stored all data in one variable, we called it as payload. You can call it data, whatever you want. Then with the help of modal, books.create, and then we pass the entire payload. So if it is if response is there, I'm just keeping it simple. In real practice there are more things, but we will be covering one by one, so we don't need this response. If respo, okay, respo, okay, I just made a mistake, that's why it is not. If response is there, then we will say response dot status, I will say 200 dot json, I will write certain things, success true. Okay, so lot of information I have mentioned, and let me print this also, log So we have done this. What is happening? We like made a request to the database that please write this information which we are receiving from the user, write it to the book collection. Then with the help of await, we waited for some time and we stored this particular response which is coming from database, because it might happen our database is looking for some data which is not in our request, so it might throw an error. So we just waited for it, and then if response is success, then we simply sent a response to the client, to the front end, to the user. We send a response, sorry I made a mistake, response, and then we told them the state with the help of status. 200 means success. Actually when we in REST APIs there are like set of like status codes between 200 to 300 they are used for success. 400 to 500 they are used like there is error in the input end which is coming from client or error from the client side. Then 500 to 500 plus error codes which we generally use for like if there is error from the server side, we have made some mistake in the code or something. But generally you don't worry, you don't need to remember all the status codes. In my next video I will be teaching you about all the status codes and the request methods, no issues. So here I told them response, please send my status as 200. 200 means success, and then send a JSON. Last time what we were sending, we were simply sending a string, so I wrote res.send and I just passed the string. But this time I am not sending only a string, this time I am sending an object. In this object there are certain keys. I am sending success as true, I am sending one message to the client, and I am also sending my response, whatever response I received from the database. In the case of data, when in the list we pass the entire list. So I am passing, this is why I have mentioned JSON, because this time I am passing a JSON object, I am passing a object. So why I am printing like response here, because I just want to know like what actual data. Just abruptly I have like passed response. If response is coming, then simply send a response like this. But it might happen that database has sent me a wrong message, or like wrong, it is not successfully done. So that is why first I am just checking like in success what it sends me, in like in failure what it sends me. If it is success, then there must be some parameter in the response. Based on this parameter we will decide if we have to send a success response or we have to send a failure response. So now our API is ready. So we have made our modal, we have made our controller. Now in order to use this API we need to make our route. So in our route, now I will write in route, our main file is this, but I will be using one more file. I will write it as book.js. So what I'll do, const again router equal to I have used this, my bad. What I was doing, I just made like I was doing books, but it is book there, so that is why it was throwing error. So I just removed this and now it's working fine. So now I will introduce you one more tool named Postman. Postman is used for like testing the APIs which we make. So with the help of Postman we just test it before passing it to the front end user so that they can use our APIs. So I'm just opening Postman. In Postman, first of all I will be creating one I need to provide one access. What is that? My system is stuck. Okay, first of all, in order to like make we need to create a collection so that I can pass the entire collection, and this collection will keep each API in a documented format, like in structured format, like as I can show you for like it says. And for other applications, like there are different users, it has, so different users folders are different, and then there are certain common APIs, there are some admins, they have their own APIs. So in the particular collection we define the structure, like how we are storing, so it makes like accessing of our APIs easy. So I just simply click new collection, and okay, I will click on this plus and I will write blank collection. So we are making a library management system, so I will be writing as I'm bad with spelling, so pardon me for the same. It might happen. I'm writing like okay, library management. So in library management we are working on books, so I will again add one more folder directory inside this library management. So I will be creating add a folder, and in this folder I will rename this folder to books. So it is done. So in books we have already created our first API, so I will be writing it as, now I will add a request. Earlier I was making this folders, now I will add a request. For APIs we call it as a request. So first we can rename it as create book. Okay, now you will find it like when I was creating the API for book creation, I used post here. What is that post? Actually in this REST APIs or like HTTP API request, there are 4 methods. First one is get method, then we have post, we have put, we have delete, we have further methods as well, but we don't often use those, like we don't use those methods often. Generally only these 4 methods are used. So post is like when large amount of data we need to pass from client to the server, so we pass it in generally in a body of request, and for this we use post method. For like when data is less and we don't want to pass the entire body, so we generally use get request. For deleting we can use get method, and if we want update we use put method. With the help of post method we can take functionality of each and every method, like delete, update and all. So it is like it depends upon company to company, or like person to person, like how they want to bifurcate it. They want to use different methods, or they just want to use a single method for all the APIs. So here, just in order to teach you, I will be making like I will be using separate methods, but yes, I will also teach you like how do we convert a particular API from one method to another in our upcoming videos. So here I have made post. So here also, instead of get in Postman, we have to, in order to test the API, we have to select it as post. Now as I told you, I am on my same system, so I will write http://localhost:3000. Then I will write /API/v1. So till now my code will go to API/v1. First it will go to API/v1. Then after this it will try to find in this, and then it will find book/book. Now book could have multiple APIs, create, update. That is why we created a single file. It will redirect me to different entities of my application like books, like inventory, stuff, and then these role of index file is to redirect the user to specific routes. And then this index right now is redirecting me to the book file, and in book file we are simply redirecting to the API which we created. So book slash create we will use. Now when we go to create, we find it we are sending data in body. So here in Postman we will find body, and here when we pass the JSON data, we just simply select JSON. Now we have to write all the parameters in the body. What parameters we have to write? These parameters must be according to our book model. So in this it is title and it is required, so we will write title, and I will write our favorite book, mathematics book, RD Sharma. Then author, again author I have to write, and is author mandatory? It is mandatory, so I will put it as RD Sharma again. And might happen I'm making mistake in this data, and edition I will enter 2025. Then I will enter the description, though it is optional, so I can omit it. I will not write it. Those are optional, then I'm not writing those details. And then it is asking for price. I don't know the exact price, so I'm just writing a dummy value. So I'm just writing 500, and price I have mentioned as number, so it I don't need to write as a string. Then we have cover. It's like very open photo of the image, so yes, it is important for a library because it will render over there. As of now I don't have cover, so and I will pass a random string. So I will pass, this is my cover, and then after this status is default. If I don't pass the status, by default it will take value 1, though it is required, but if I don't pass it, so it will take the default value, so don't throw the error. Then we will mention the category is optional thing, so I can simply write it as category as mathematics. It could have different category. Yes, I forgot to add one thing, like here I will pass one more value as timestamps as true. Why this is, you will be getting an answer in some short time. So my schema is ready, my server is running. It is also connected to right now it has not connected yet to the DB. Now it is connected, so I will hit the API. I just clicked on it and see I got the error, validation error. It says price is required. We passed the price, so what's the issue? Let's check in the payload. Price I have passed, then why it is giving error? It is saying everything is required, but we have also passed request.raw, then we have passed it as JSON. Then somehow data is not reaching to our controller. So let's see request.body, what does it say, if we are receiving it or not in that. So I have said I am printing my payload. Let's see what we have received in request.body. Actually we are not receiving anything in our request.body. Why? because in this we will have to use one router, so we will be one middleware which will be app.use express.json. And if I try this and I hit it again, see, my book is successfully created. Whatever data I passed, it is coming from here. Book created successfully, and it is returning the data. So it is returning a one object when successfully created. So our response is fine. If else, we will simply send response dot status 400 book not created, and we will comment it. Now your question is why this happened earlier, why it was not working, what is the difference by writing this particular line. Actually in HTML, like this APIs, REST APIs, data transferred from client side or like front end or from Postman always comes in the form of string. Though we are passing it as a JSON object in the body, you can find it as a JSON object, but it travels as a string. So before using it further, our server convert it to JSON again, and then it passes in the body. But since we were not telling it to convert the incoming request into JSON, so that is why it was causing error. So we use this function. So it function first internally converted this incoming string in the body to the JSON object, and then assigned this into a request dot body object. So after this we started receiving the data. So our first create API is done. Similarly, if we want to make a list API, simply what we have to do in the same directory, we will do const list is equals to async request book list. We will write this function as book list. You can write it anything. So my function is simply ready. In the list right now, I'm not asking for any parameter. Yes, list APIs has n number of parameters. We will be learning in the next video, like how searching works in APIs, how pagination works in API, what are those concepts. So book list API is already done. So what we simply did, we did book and we use find method, which is provided by Mongoose, and then with the help of find we get the response. If response, but it might happen we get blank response from the database. So this API is what it is doing. In all cases it is just simply sending response, but this is not an optimal way. So how we do it, we simply say if we know that in the case of find it sends data in array form, so we simply use array.length. If it length is 0, then book not found, and pass this as the response. It will be again a blank array, or we can simply pass a blank array in the data. So whatever you wish. And again we need to pass a return statement here. Whenever you are sending the request to front end, the final request you are sending at any point, you have to write return. Why this? Suppose if I am not writing this, what will happen? It will send a response to the client, but after this function runs, then again it will go to this, but this will throw an error, because it will say we cannot send the headers once response is already sent. In this status, response is already sent. Again it is asking me to send the response. So since one API can send response for only one time, so it cannot send response multiple times. So that is why we are passing return here. So return means end the function, just end the function here. No need to proceed further, just send it and end the function here, don't go further. And now we will export this function. When we need to export multiple functions, so we simply pass it as a comma. So my list function is done. Now in my routes model we don't have to do, and I will go in books, and here I will simply router dot get list APIs. Generally we write in get, and I will import it. I imported it and I started using it. Now if we want to check, we will go to our Postman. Again in book collection I will make one more API, and this method is guest, but I will rename it to book list. And book list I will again copy the entire this, and I will pass the entire endpoint, and at the end I will just change it to books/list. And since in body you will say we are not passing anything, so just you don't have to pass anything and just hit it. So my mistake, I didn't change it a text message. So in book list, since I copied it, so I will say book list fetched successfully. So I've changed it, and now if I will try to hit the API, I will get book list fetched successfully, and I am getting the data. So this is how our list APIs works. So in the next video we will be learning like what is pagination and how we can search. Suppose I have 1 lakh book in my library, so how I will find a particular book out of this library. And suppose there are 1 lakh libraries, then sending all 1 lakh data at front end at one particular time will be a very tedious task or Herculean task. In Gmail also you must have seen at one time it shows 1 to 50 mail, then after this once you scroll, then you click on next email, then those next images comes. Similarly in your Facebook or Instagram, all the reels or news feed doesn't come at one go. When you keep scrolling, new data keep coming. So this is what we are this happens with the help of pagination. So in the next video we will be covering how do we do pagination, and how do we do like create search APIs. Thank you guys, thanks for watching.